excited today to have Jeff Friedman, the CEO of Building Intelligence, join me today to have a great conversation about his business, the climate currently as we're in now, and then also he's got a ton of experience that hopefully you'll give us a couple of bits of insight and guidance on sort of what to do next. So welcome. Thank you for joining.
Well, thank you for having me, Lee. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Why don't you kick it off by just introduce yourself, your business, give us a little bit of background.
So it was not too long after 9/11 that we created visitor management in New York City. And ultimately, we became Building Intelligence and launched a product called SV3. I was, for 6 years of my life, a practicing attorney. And then ultimately started to build web-based solutions starting in 1998. And so this is the culmination of many years in a career of being in the security business, being in facility management, and running programs for both security, efficiencies of operation in buildings, and working for maintenance companies, guard companies, and real estate management companies. About 20 people. Most of them work in a sort of a flexible office environment where we have generally on any given day 12 or 15 people in the office, and then people work remotely, which has been a common thread for us since the very beginning.
Today is so we're recording this on Tuesday, the 24th. How are you, and how are you guys coping, and sort of what's the state of business for you now?
So being from New York and being a part of several crises before this, you know, I feel like this is another one. This is very interesting that the whole world is part of it. I think whether it was Hurricane Sandy in New York or Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Harvey, it becomes very regional, or 9/11. It's in a lot of ways becomes regional, and then the world experiences it through the region's eyes. In this particular scenario, we have a world that is experiencing the same thing, which I think is a phenomenon. Obviously, it's awful. It's a phenomenon. And you see the migration of many companies to how we've always been as a company, which is really flexible, working remotely, working with some of the more modern day tools of conferencing like we're doing right now, this video conferencing. We've been using tools like this for a very long time. One, not only because it's a way to be close to people remotely, but also from a business continuity and resiliency side, we've been a part of that, experience for so long that we've, always had this capacity to be resilient. Whether New York City shut down, I've always run the business as if it never happened. So to us, and I think for a lot of people in the security industry, this is business as usual. I mean, you are a responding company to a crisis, generally speaking, on any given day, whether it be a security incident that is impacting the building or impacting the facility or impacting your business. And as a security company, as a security industry, we're usually right there hand in hand, holding the team and partnership up with the client. So for our clients that are system integrators, they're essential workforce people, generally speaking. They need the cameras, the access control operating. And we're like lockstep with them, fully functioning in the crisis, right?
Going through 9/11, then Sandy, now this, there is a resiliency that you're used to, and probably, like you said, you're used to also on the crisis management side of this, and having some of those redundancies and tools so you can have that. I guess that said, there's a human side of this. Regardless, every single time they may look a little bit different. If you're a small business that this is their first time actually dealing with anything like this, any advice that you can give them?
Well, all the things I mentioned earlier, ultimately, they may or may not always be fully resolved in a short period of time, but there is another side that ultimately you can drive innovation out of these things. You can use this as a time to see who's the good people in your organization, who can be productive in the crisis, who are the real stars. I always say this, that, challenges make heroes, right? And who are the heroes comes out of being challenged. And, nobody ever tells a story of overcoming the average. It's overcoming the difficulty that ultimately makes you see who shines. So in a way, it's an opportunity to see who you got, and how you're going to go forward from here with who.
Yeah, I want to make a t-shirt called Overcome. Would you say overcome the average?
Yeah. Overcoming the average doesn't build heroes.
No,
Overcoming
it does not.
the difficulty, right?
Yeah, but that's awesome. So I like that. Well, so you mentioned innovation, and I'm a firm believer that we were in the midst of a phase change as an industry as it was, and
Mhm.
um, going through crises like this, I think, are highlighting and accelerating some of those things that were in the midst of the change, like touchless
Right.
technologies and remote working. So cultural plus technical side.
I think there's a possibility where that a lot of companies innovate around the needs that this new incident requires, but that innovation doesn't have a counter buy side, meaning without the real estate snapping back, without the developers developing new property, there isn't a buyer of the new technology. So you can in your lab have something amazing that'll solve all these problems, but if you don't have a buyer, then it doesn't create the real acceleration that you're talking about. And you might see it at a booth, but you won't see it um, implemented at all these different facilities, which in the end is the goal. I would say there's two categories. One is if it's hardware driven and it's part of a capital buy, right? Generally speaking, if there's no capital projects, those things are not going to be purchased, which you see in access control boards,
Yeah,
right? Cameras, right, are generally, or the redoing of a lobby. But on the software side, there are incremental changes that can be made by an agile workforce to support new paradigms in an economy, right? Meaning you can make quick changes in a sustained service to accelerate certain things. But some of the things I know that you're talking about, which is, you know, movement of cards to better cards or things like that, that comes with having different equipment. And without the additional equipment, it doesn't happen, right? So I think ultimately the phase changes are, you know, as an example would be, uh, you in order to do facial recognition, right? You're adding software maybe to a product rather than a new camera,
sure.
which is possible,
Yeah.
right? So
No,
you add
totally understand.
software, so the software can happen, but the camera won't get purchased. So you have to see where in the industry the phase changes actually happen, not because they shouldn't happen on the camera or they shouldn't happen at the end point, right? But that they ultimately are driven by like a platform software.
No, I agree. My hope is some of the changes that happen too is a business model change in the same way. Maybe lack of buyers on the end might force some people to get more creative. Where you know the sort of the bid process of how products come from
Yeah.
manufacturing to the job site hasn't changed a lot. I mean, there's changes here and there, but ultimately not a ton. That maybe this will be the impetus that the way that things are bought might be changed or priced and things like that. I don't know.
So one of the things that I think we had talked about was ultimately, is there going to be more of a need for system integration or outsourcing of that service within each organization? And I think the system integrator is going to be imperatively more important in the next few years because this is an opportunity to automate process, figure out who can work from home, in favor also of outsourcing, which you'll see a lot of companies already were on that track already to find new ways to not have the people on staff that are core to their industry is all that they really want to keep, right? They didn't really want to have people and we do a lot of work in the loading dock. So we do a lot of loading dock services, and a lot of loading dock services are actually not the employees of the company, but a third party staff,
Yeah.
just like the guards are a third party staff. And the system integrators, I think, will grow here because they're not going to want to have all these big IT houses
The
internally.
definition of the integrator, what they actually do, also will change with that to make them. But and I
Agreed.
agree. I think the channel will continue to be very strong. The disciplines might be a bit different as far as what they cover, but overall, it'll be because you like you said, the outsourcing is going to be one of them. I think the complexity of the systems is going to be another driver where it's going to be hard to have internal resources to just you know to be an expert in
It's
everything.
also like up to the manufacturers like us to be supportive of the business model of the system integrator. So a big part of what we're doing with visitor management and loading dock management is providing opportunities for the system integrators to grow their business um, through selling new products and services that may replace old services, but ultimately enhance and give additional services to get to that new phase, right? I mean, if we're providing software, it still comes with the system integrator deploying it to a video management system or a legacy access control system. So instead of ripping and replacing, the access control system, which I think is out the window with the new economy for the next 2 or 3 years, the opportunity is to take a software platform and then push it into a legacy product. So you're getting an upgrade in services, phasing in new services without actually changing the hardware.
I
I
like
think
it.
system integrators are going to win if they take that tact.
You talk about the integrators, you talk about the visitor management, the loading dock area, which is an interesting differentiator than most visitor management systems. Is there anything that you need? I know in the current atmosphere, might be different 2 weeks ago when we were first talking, but
the system integrators who pay attention to the changing environment that work with us, and we have so many great ones that work with us right now. The more we have, the merrier. We feel like we're doing a great job in New York City and some parts of the West Coast, but in the Midwest and in the central part of the United States, other than Texas, there's a long way for us to go. And I think if we could do anything, would be for us, we could find some new integrators in Florida and in Georgia and in Arkansas and in Colorado. That would be amazing, because I think what we've done in New York and Texas and California, we can take to other places and really take. And I think one of the things I'm like a big proponent of is we have a Safety Act certified visitor management solution that builds a trusted access program for clients. This is a very important notion. The idea of having an anti-terrorism product that's flexible and has the ability to create recurring revenue for the integrator is an important opportunity for them, given they're probably not going to sell the hardware that they think they're going to sell in the next few years, right? They need to find companies like ours that align with them and then draw out new opportunities for the clients, upgrade their security, meet the needs of managing entry, which is going to be important when we're looking at who's coming into the building in this, right? So I think for us, we need integrators from, the middle of the country, as much as we have on the edges. We're deploying malls, stadiums, commercial buildings, large corporate campuses, hospitals. So the verticals are, whatever comes our way in terms of managing entrances.
Okay.
We do 7 of the 10 tallest buildings in Manhattan.
Fair enough.
And we do 3 of the largest corporate campuses in the United States. If they do a little research on Safety Act certification, they'll realize it's the only choice. That's the only thing you should be doing for your clients, is making sure that they have the risk mitigation strategy that DHS has put together.
And if I'm an integrator in the middle of the country and I want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, it's you go to buildingintelligence.com, or you call 1-877-353-3377.
I know it's a busy time right now. You got a lot going on. So I really do appreciate you making the time to do this and sharing your background, your company, and experience that you have. So thank you.
More to come, more good things to come.
I
Thanks.
agree.
Appreciate it.